Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breakfast with Boom. My goodness, this has been one heck of a week. E3 2018, so many highs, very little lows, but we're going to talk about everything. I have an incredible guest list today that I want to give introductions to before we jump right into the topics. First, my first guest I want to talk about is she's relatively new to the gaming scene, especially when it comes to being online and talking with other gamers. And she also brings a huge amount of awesomeness to the Dosage podcast. And of course, I'm talking about Primal Eve. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us on today's show.
Really glad to be here. There's a lot to talk about after this E3 show, so I'm really excited to discuss it with you guys.
Oh yeah, listen, you know what? You really, when I listen to you on the Dosage podcast, Eve, you always really come in at an angle and you make people understand where you're coming from. I like the logic that you bring to the show. You really are a great addition to that podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next man up that we're going to talk about really doesn't need an introduction, but he's also known as the No Chills, and the only person that I know that could make Howard Stern blush. That, of course, is Noof Nukem. Hey, dude, first of all, I'm glad that you're feeling better, and secondly, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with us today.
I'm honored and flattered to be here, Boom. I know you've been trying to get me on here for a few weeks, and yes, timing hasn't been so super great for me. I guess timing right now is quite good since yes, I'm on the down low, so that's why I'm here. But again, appreciate you having me here, man. It's always a good time. It's a great time slot, getting up early and chatting games, and yeah, you got some great people here today. Pleasure to have my game dosage friend on here as well, Primal Eve, and you couldn't have said it better, Boom. You know, we love how Primal she brings a different angle to our show, and I always think it's great to get different gamers, especially like from a female perspective. It's nice yes, too, because a lot of shows are very male heavy centric, and you know, and as you say, if your hen house is all full of hens and there's not enough what do you call them, the roosters or whatever, then there's nobody laying eggs. So so there you go, right? You got to have that. You got to have a little perspective. So appreciate you having me here, man. It's going to be a fun time. There's lots of topics. I know, like you said, you're kind of worn out a little bit from the E3 stuff, but hey, one more show, right?
Yeah, listen, the show must go on. And just to give a heads up, Glitcher, who's a very good friend of mine, was going to be on today. Unfortunately, at the last minute, he got grabbed by work to come in. So he will be joining us at another later date. I will make that announcement. Of course, and now the last guest, and certainly not the least, he is literally the only person that I know that could ride his Ducati and also do the Dazcast at the same time. That is my very good friend, Judzilla. Hey, dude, thank you so much for hanging out.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and honor. I'm not sure I'm going to follow up Newt's intro, but it's fantastic to be here, and we got some fantastic topics as well. And yeah, you're one of the good guys on YouTube, mate, and congratulations on all your success. And it's
really cool. I really appreciate that. Listen, I say this all the time, and I don't get bored saying it. I'm in the position that I'm in currently because the community opened their arms and accepted me, and they like what I have to say. And there are times still that I pinch myself that this is actually happening, because I never realized that I had a voice, even though I wanted to talk about gaming. And I'm glad that I'm here with you and all the amazing guests that I've had on the show to talk about games. It's one of my most favorite topics to talk about. I could do it all day long. And we're going to jump right into, of course, the incredible topics list that I put together for not only the panel and the chat, but everyone that's going to listen eventually. Okay, now here's the thing. With this particular E3, there was a tremendous amount of great news that came out. I mean, I say this not to sound like a nerd, but gamers won. Okay, I don't care what flag that you fly. you found something that you wanted to play on that particular system, or if you're like most of us, you support multiple systems, then you're really in for a treat because there's so much to buy, your wallet's going to be screaming. But unfortunately, with everything that's good in the world when it came to E3 2018, something really negative happened during the conference, and I really want to talk about that because I think it really is the elephant in the gaming room. And of course, I'm talking about PlayStation, Sony more specifically, blocking crossplay for Fortnite, which was announced for the Nintendo Switch. And I really want to get into that, but before I get with the panel, I just want to read a couple of things. First and foremost, Greg Miller of Kind of Funny, who is one of the most largest PlayStation activists that I personally know in the business. I mean, I've said this before. He probably has all of their CEOs' phone numbers on speed dial. And he sent out a tweet a couple of days ago after, this whole instance with the crossplay being blocked. And he says this: at PlayStation, fix this. Not allowing me to sign into the Fortnite Switch with my Epic account because it's linked to my PlayStation 4 is tone deaf and points more to fear than market dominance. He continues with, it does the opposite of what you want. It makes me think about moving to Xbox for Fortnite. Now, see, here's the thing. That statement speaks tremendous volume because he is one of the biggest PlayStation fans that I personally know. And for him to say that he's considering moving over to another console, again, he's not saying he's selling his PlayStation 4. He's saying that he's going to move over to a game that's available on multiple consoles, but play on the Xbox simply because he can bring all of his items over to when he plays on the Switch, because he does a lot of shows, so he's obviously on the go. And Sony responded. Now, they took a couple of days to respond, but this is, again, one of those Sony kind of a things, right? This is their statement from Sony directly. We've got to be mindful of our responsibility to our install base. And they're using those particular words as the reason why they're not allowing crossplay and blocking someone else from playing somewhere, of course, like on the Switch or the Xbox with their items that they've paid for. And some people have spent hundreds of dollars. So in order to start to play on the Switch, you'd have to start a new account and you'd have nothing. I want to go right to the panel. Take it away. What is your thoughts on this?
Take it away, Judd.
Okay. I'll go first. I'll do the obligatory, I have all systems apart from Nintendo, because I don't really care for Nintendo. So I do have a PS4. Xbox is my my primary console. This, it's another black eye for Sony. For me, the language, again, they're protecting the install base. It's almost like they were protecting the children. It's getting kind of offensive now. It's clearly not that. And it's so anti-consumer with everything else that they've been accused of doing or not doing. Things like changing your name or having things like EA Access because they decide you don't need it. Why not let your consumers make that decision? This is exactly the same sort of thing. And in fact, in one of their statements, they even mentioned, the massive install base they had. I don't understand the logic for a company has won this generation, essentially. There's absolutely no need for them to do this, and no one seems to complain about it. We get a lot on the Xbox side, we have high standards and we want things fixed, but no one tends to complain when Sony does this. So for Greg Miller to come out and say that, I retweeted that and said it was weak and pathetic of Sony to be doing this. And it smacks a little bit of the PS3 generation when they got arrogant, and I don't like it. But all the good things they're doing, there's absolutely no need to do this. So that's my perspective on it. It sucks.
What about you, Noof? Because we were talking in the pregame, and you had some really interesting things to say about it. Take it away.
Absolutely, man. Well, first of all, let's go back to one of my tweets over the last couple of days, which a lot of people thought I summed up really well. Look, times have changed. This isn't the 90s. This isn't the early 2000s where, you know, it's been since 2005, 2006, since the PS3 era, the 360 era. It's a long time ago. It's well in the rearview mirror. I can understand how maybe Microsoft's policies were different back then, maybe compared to Sony, et cetera, et cetera. Like, two wrongs don't make a right. I get that. But you know what? You got to change with the times. Online is bigger now than it's ever been before. Free-to-play models are huge. You got esports, which are massive now. Crossplay is starting to become a thing. We're seeing more and more games all the time opening up the doors and the avenues for various platform players to cross-play and get in on the action with their friends, which I just think is just a bonus all around. It's just, you know, it's a great move for just gamers in general. And Sony got to get with the times. They got to get off their high horse, because like you could see through their excuses as plain as day at this point. And, you know, for those small minority of fans that are just like, well, they don't need to, and blah, blah, blah. Like dudes, get over yourself. Like, the majority of people out there right now can see this as plain as day. You referred to it, Boom, that the media, including big types like Greg Miller, when they're calling it out in plain sight, you know that Sony's antiquated, you know, reasoning, what they're afraid that 5 people out there won't buy a PlayStation 4 or something. Like, what is the deal? It's crazy. Like, and I also said, if Nintendo people are on board with this, how the hell can you not be? You are the market leader. You have a chance to actually possibly sell even more consoles because you are the market leader and people trust your brand. I don't know why you're so scared. You know what I mean? If I'm Mike Tyson walking into a fight, I'm usually not the guy that's too scared. The chances are the other dude's going to the floor. You know what I'm saying? Sony, just get with the times, man. It's just stupid. Don't hold yourself back. Don't hold your fans back. That's all I can say about it.
Okay, well, what you said was fantastic and very true. Eve, what is your take on the whole situation?
Yeah, I'm right along with Noof. It's also a smack in the face for gamers in general. Like, if Sony's trying to be like, yeah, we're for gamers too, you know, and especially as a system that's not really necessarily focused on multiplayer, this was a huge opportunity for them to get those sales and to get people to play together, because everybody else is trying to do that too. I'm totally for crossplay. Like, when Gears of War had added their crossplay, that was fantastic, because I have friends on PC that I couldn't play with, and then it was like all of a sudden, okay, yay. But it's just like, I don't understand why they are just kind of the black sheep right now of the gaming community, and it's only hurting them in the end. I really don't think like they're going to be losing anybody if they did open it, but I don't know.
And just let me add, it's not just a pro gamer move, it's also pro publisher move, right? This is a pro publisher move, which only encourages publishers to bring more games to your platform, because they don't have to worry about, like publishers want to make money. They don't care how they make the money. They just want to make money. And if that means more people are playing their games because they're not restricted to the type of plastic they play it on, and then they can make microtransactions through that, is that not good for the publisher? And in turn, is that not a good move for the publisher's relationship with the main console manufacturer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a win. Listen, I'm not a businessman, right? But I can say that's a win-win for everyone. But you see, I want to just take it a little bit further. And you got to think about this for a second. Let's just say, for instance, you're a 2-console gamer, and your 2 consoles are the PlayStation 4 and the Switch. Let's say, for instance, Xbox is just not your thing. I get it. But let's say Fortnite is your thing, okay? Now, you play with your friends on your PlayStation 4, you're having a great time. Fortnite's your favorite game, so this year, you made it your business to get your Battle Pass up to par. Every 3 months, you're re-upping. You spent $160 on emotes and outfits, right?
Yeah.
Some people do that. I get it. Listen, if there's an outfit I want for a character, that, you know, I will buy it. That's the end of the story. I don't care if it's $5 or if it's $7. You have to piecemeal it, whatever. But let's just say, for instance, you're traveling kind of a work person, And you're like, well, this is fantastic news. The Switch just announced that Fortnite is coming and I can play on the go. This is amazing. And then you go to sign in, you download it, which, by the way, in the first day, it was downloaded 2 million times on the Switch. So FYI world, it's a big deal. Okay. You try to log in and you get an error. You're like, I don't understand. You try to log in a second time, you get an error. Then you find out when you start going to Twitter that all of the gear, the $160 that you spent, your battle pass, all of your stats are stuck behind a wall that Sony has built so high you can't see the sunlight. And now you have to start over again. So what does that mean? That means you're going to have to do a new account and start from scratch. How is that fair to the consumer? See, everyone says this is anti-gamer. It's more, I think we forget that it's anti-consumer because you already spent all this money. You already spent all of these hours getting your character leveled up and getting his emotes and the costume the way you want. And now, because you're a traveling gamer, you're excited because you might be able to play across, with on your Switch on the go, which is exactly what the whole Switch thing is about. And now you can't. And I think it is a huge slap in the face to anyone that plays games. And I got to say this, Noof, you made mention of it. I'm glad that the media is giving them shit for this because they should. This is something that needs to be addressed. And I think it's really old school thinking to come out with a statement like that and be okay with it. I hope that the gamers speak out and move away from the platform, because this is not going to be the only game this is going to happen to. In the future, when cross-play is going to be across multiple consoles, including the PC, the only one that's going to be standing there with the door locked is going to be Sony, and I think that's going to be a problem.
Could you imagine if Sony did something really silly like this with, say, their movie business, where their Sony Pictures published titles could only play on certain DVD or Blu-ray players or some shit like that? Like, can you imagine how crazy that would seem and how nuts that would make the public? But like I said, just imagine if they did it a similar practice with a medium like that. How would you react? Because this is basically the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is the same thing. And it's shocking to me that they actually took so long to respond. And someone just popped into the chat, a very good friend of the show, who, of course, we're going to go right to him because he really is one of the only developers that I personally know, the Don. Hey, dude, thanks for coming in. I sent you the link this time with no problems. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. I'm glad he sent me the link. You never know if I can pop in or not.
Yes, it's always awesome when you do.
Yeah, I'm here. I have some meetings later today, but I figured I would pop in and chat with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out. And we're actually, I want to get your take on this because I'm not sure if anyone caught the show yesterday. You might have mentioned it. I don't remember. We're talking about the anti-consumer Sony and their response to they want to protect their 80 million console buyers by not allowing crossplay. Is that a BS answer, or people should just take them for their word?
Do you want to protect their user base?
Yes.
It depends on how you want to interpret it. Protect them as in keep them close to their chest. Yes, that it's a very true statement, right? But I think the outlook is, it's backwards. I think they're working out of fear, and it kind of shows, because if you're really producing the best product, right, or your customers are really happy with the ecosystem you have, they're playing on other things, so why are you worried about it? So that's kind of my take on it. I think they're thinking it's closer to the next console generation for them, and anything can happen during that shakeup, right? So they're just kind of want to hold on to that, but they just don't get it. It's an old mindset as far as that's concerned. And, and I'm not even a Fortnite player for the most part. I played it here and there, but I'm not even a Fortnite player. But the importance of crossplay is essential for the industry. Yes. This is not just hey, Sony versus Microsoft thing. This is like games as a service is a thing. There's only so many gamers to spread out. User base is important in those games as a service type models. So doing this sort of thing is going to frustrate and piss off your publishers. And, eventually you may be in a situation where publishers were like, well, maybe we won't release on your system first. Maybe we'll release on the other systems that play well together.
Do you think it might have also that they're a little bit afraid that if games that are sort of been big promoters of their platform the last few years, aka Call of Duty, start doing something similar to this, that they're thinking it could in somehow distract from or take away from their exclusivity type deals with that particular product? Because then all of a sudden you got Xbox guys playing the PlayStation guys over a massive game like this, and then they might be worried about how their content is perceived. You think that could be it as well? Because like you said, once you do it for one game, you basically open up the doors for every game, so that might be part of it.
I mean that fits the narrative of why third parties are not being shown on their stage at E3 and other things along those lines. I think there's some small truth to that. I don't think it's the big truth. I think the big truth is it's a slippery slope, where everyone else is ready to take the ride down the water park, right? Sony's doing that thing of that kid that's ready to go and then gets scared and then backs off, right? They're doing that thing. And I think they're afraid to, once they allow anything, I think they don't, I don't think honestly at the end of the day, they don't care of Minecraft, and I don't think they care of the, I forgot the game we're talking about right now. But
Fortnite.
Fortnite. One of the creators is going to kill me. He actually lives near me. But those two games are big players in the industry, right? And I don't think they really even care if those really were crossplay. But once they open that Pandora's box, right, then that leads to, I think, what Noof was talking about, like the Call of Duties and the Battlefields and some of these other massively multiplayer games where competition is fierce on what platform you're on in regards to that. So, it's a difficult situation for Sony to be in, but the same token, it's not. Just go with the times, and I think they're going to maintain their user base. If they don't, it's not just Fortnite, it's other games slowly eroding away at this. And I think Fortnite made it very clear last, what was it, Game Awards, that, Donald Mustard was up there and he straight up said, you know what? It is our mission to make crossplay happen. And this is a move. This is literally a very strategic political move that uses their own policies against them. But it makes it so everyone else looks like the good guy, and Sony's hanging out there to dry. But Sony put themselves in that position. It's not like the Fortnite devs are being jerks. They're just like, look, this is business, and we're gonna play hardball with you. Take it or leave it.
Yes. Now, Mike, I have one last question on this, and I'll throw it out there to the panel. Could this potentially loosen the grasp of Sony's dominance, not only in this generation, but in the next one, possibly?
Well, I think their public relationships with developers and publishers get hurt in situations like this. And I think it's important to look at publishers and developers as customers as well. Right? And if you're pissing off that customer base, then there's a lot that kind of bleeds off from that, right? They're the ones that talk with, maybe not clear, but if you read between the lines or you hear the frustration, they may be more frustrated with Sony as a platform going forward. That transfers over to the media. The media reflects that. The gaming community reflects that, and it all kind of feeds into one another.
Right.
So I can see it from that level. To what degree it'll get to, I mean, that's kind of a sit back, wait and see.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add to before we move on to the next topic?
I don't think it's going to make a large dent overall into Sony's bottom line. I mean, it's not a deal breaker at the end of the day for me. I mean, I have a PlayStation. I'm not even a big Fortnite fan, so overall, I mean, I get the larger picture, the big equation here, but I'm just like it didn't ruffle my feathers a whole lot because personally, I'm not even a big fan of crossplay. Like I could care less to play against people on, say, if I'm on my Xbox to play against a PlayStation player or a PC player. I don't care as long as there's players in the game. So it's not a big factor for me, but I do get the overall picture. I think as the Don alluded to, it may sour some of the relationships that they're trying to build with certain publishers because look, well, it may not have adverse effects on some of the big games like Call of Duties and stuff like that have a massive player base, year in and year out. This is crossplay is a huge advantage for the smaller titles, the indie devs who are trying to build a bigger user base, and the best way to do that is by expanding the amount of consoles or devices they can get their games onto. You know what I mean? So that's huge for them, even more so. So that's a huge thing moving forward.
Okay.
Also, Fox in the chat has said that Sony don't care, they're market leaders and they won't fix it. She's absolutely correct.
Yes.
But it's another one of those. It's another thing that they're not looking at. If you look at where Microsoft have been and Nintendo, they're very forward thinking. They're talking about gaming on any device, anywhere. They've been very transparent with their strategy. It depends on how many of these things Sony continue to dig their heels in with. And if they continue this old school thinking, I think the way you put it, Boom, I think it will affect them in next generation, especially if they don't go backwards compatible and they're having to ask everybody to buy new hardware again that won't play their old games, that they'll remaster and make us pay for again.
Right.
But yeah, I think it could definitely affect them. The publisher angle is big, but loss of consumer trust, like in the PS3 days, I think that could affect them. Depends how far they're going to go.
Well, especially if they're screwing with Epic, because their major thing is cross-platforming. Why are they going to look at Sony and be like, yeah, we definitely have to give them a chance? They could be losing future sales and revenue and stuff just by doing this. They really, I don't know. It's kind of like they're putting a bad taste in my mouth when I think about it.
Well, for sure. But and you actually bring up a really good point, Eve, is that they get a certain, Sony I'm talking about, gets a certain cut for every download of Fortnite, right? They because Epic has to logistically pay them to be on their platform. That's well established. So if now this news comes out to the public, people are gonna be like, well, I'm not going to be going to play on Sony because if I really like this game and I can go over to Xbox or I can go to the Switch, and if I get one of those systems later on, I can bring all my stuff over. That's a better deal. Technically, Sony will be losing money. So listen, you know what? It's going to be very interesting. I think that we're going to be talking about this weeks from now. I don't think Sony's going to budge. And I want to, of course, keep the show positive, but I want to bring up one other negative, and it regards Microsoft. They had a fantastic show. We're going to get into that in detail. But one of the head scratcher moves of Microsoft as a fan of the series, and Foxy, I know that you're listening, is going to like this topic. It blows my mind that Gears of War Tactics is a PC-only game. Now, I get the mobile. I get it. The little pop Gears thing, it's mobile. I get it. But my biggest problem with this move is this. Every game that comes out on the Xbox goes to Windows, but not every Windows game goes to Xbox. And considering this is a mainstream Gears story, how are the fans like myself supposed to understand what is happening if I don't have a PC strong enough to play this game? Like I'm working off of a Surface. I'm not going to be playing Gears of War Tactics in front of a 13.9 screen when I have a 65-inch monster right next to me. It doesn't just make any sense. I'm hoping that they fix this problem. I know it's not a control thing because we've had Halo Wars 1 and 2, right, with no problem. We've had XCOM on this XCOM 2, no problem. And if you are a 360 player, Supreme Commander or Command and Conquer, those games were mapped to a 360 controller with no problem. So it's not the controller. I understand they want to open up Gears to a wider audience, but leaving the Xbox, near 40 plus million gamers behind, I think is wrong. I'm going to go right to you, Eve, because you sound like you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah. I'm a huge Gears fan. I get everything Gears, doesn't matter what it is. They can make Judgment too, and I'll buy it. But it's just I'm disappointed because, like you said, there are other tactical games. I personally love tactical games, and the fact that there's a Gears tactical games, like, hell yeah, I want to play that. And I don't know, I don't understand what's going on with these companies and stuff, but they're limiting their fan base completely. I probably do have a strong enough PC to handle it, but I want to play with all my other friends who also love Gears and enjoy the memories and the moments that they have created in this game. So I think that it's a stupid move. They're going to be losing so much.
They're going to be losing potential sales too. I mean, let's talk about how many copies they might sell on the Xbox One as opposed to just the PC. I understand the PC is a big market, but you still have 40 million consoles that are Xbox One owners that might want to listen. Even if they only sold 2 million copies because it's a niche title, that's still 2 million sales of whatever the game is going to cost. Right, Don, I'm going to go to you because you come at usually these angles from a developer point of view, especially when it comes to the making money part. Is this a bad move for Microsoft?
Well, I need to know a little bit more context of the condition of the game to really kind of make too much of a comment, because the way I look at it is PC gamers they're a different breed, right? There's some similarities between console gamers and PC gamers, but PC gamers are okay with like games being not close to being finished or games evolving a little bit. And I kind of get this impression when I saw that this is kind of an evolving project more than that finished, polished product that I think console gamers are looking for. And so the way I see it kind of going down is it's going to be like your typical like Steam game where it's not quite the polished machine that you would expect, but PC gamers are not going to be hard on it. They're just going to be excited because of the genre of game and what it is and how that's popular on that platform. And then eventually when that product becomes a little more polished, a little more dialed in, we're going to see it on console. And as a console gamer, and I develop on my PC, right? But as somebody that, my spare time where I play is on the console, I want the polished experience. That's what we're ultimately are all shooting for. I think as console gamers, I think we can universally agree. And I think that's what's eventually going to happen. I think there's plenty of things that I have questions, and I'm lukewarm on Microsoft's showing at E3. I'm not, I wouldn't say as negative as others can be, but I'm not overly positive either. There are things that I have gripes, but this isn't one of them. To be honest with you, I just think this is just par for the course. So,
okay, Noof, what is your take on this?
Well, first of all, I think Don is probably right on this one. I think there's a good chance it may end up coming to Xbox because the franchise is big enough to really to carry it over for this type of game. And if they did it with Halo, why can't you do it with Gears? But in the same sentence, Halo is still a much bigger world-renowned property compared to Gears, so it doesn't limit itself as much, I guess, from that perspective. And I think I think it's more of like a test phase. They're trying to see where the potential lies from a PC perspective, and then may bring over that cross-play or what it's at the Play Anywhere stuff, following suit. So. It's a little baffling, obviously, but I think they just wanted to get it out there and show these guys that the game is in development and there's potential here, that sort of thing. So, it's baffling, but I wouldn't get too perplexed on it yet. I think a lot of things can change, and, they probably will, because as Microsoft being one of the proponents and pushers of this cross-play stuff and Play Anywhere, then it only makes sense to give your Xbox players a chance to play against PC and PC to Xbox, vice versa. It opens up more avenues, and it definitely gives the franchise itself or that particular game a better chance to sell. If it is on, more than just the PC itself, the console gamers could add an extra 1.5 million or 2 million sales or whatever. And hey, sales are good, right? So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see where it goes. Me personally, I could care less either. I'm a huge Gears fan, but I'm not a fan of those type of games. And that's another thing, like Don said, PC players, they have similarities, but there's a lot of differences. Because if you look at the top 10 games on PC that are still like best played and selling, it's crazy. Like most of them are like they're old games. I mean, the fact that Counter-Strike Go and
Team Fortress is up
Legends
there.
and World of Warcraft, like
Yeah.
these games are ancient now, and these are still their top games on PC. It's like these guys don't give up on these franchises. They're just always in the top 10. Whereas you look at console, they're always changing. They're always different month in, month out.
It's funny you say that. You picture a bunch of like old people playing games that they've been playing it since like the late 80s, right? But or early 80s, I would say. But the harsh reality is younger generation PC gamers get into those games as well. So like it's a generational thing that kind of carries over with PC, and they're just different platforms. But remember when those Halo twin stick shooters came up on the phones, and people were like, "What the hell?" And next thing you know, they eventually showed up on Xbox. I can't see any of these things, and this even goes with the Popco game or whatever that is. I see all eventually coming back to Xbox as far as that goes. It's just they're not the optimal console experience type products, so therefore their priorities lie elsewhere, and eventually they'll make it, and that's fine. I don't, I kind of got the Gears I wanted with the Gears 5. So
right.
I mean I think that's ultimately how they should handle it, is cover their bases. Is, hey, we got this thing on PC, we got this thing on phone, but hey, for you console gamers, we got what you really are looking for, which is this Gears 5, and then they show it off in all its glory. So.
Okay, that's good. And Judd, what are your you're the last one. What are your takes on a game like this with a Gears name on it actually being held back from the fans of the that play on the Xbox One?
Yeah, this kind of drives me a little bit crazy, if I'm honest. It's like the Age of Empires thing.
Yes,
I'm not a fan of Age of Empires, but we know Microsoft and Xbox have a exclusive first party problem. It only comes out on PC.
Right.
It could be done on the Xbox for sure. As a fan of Gears, I absolutely want to play this on the Xbox like I do Halo Wars. What I think they're trying to do is more tactical. And people tend to forget that Phil isn't head of Xbox now. He's head of gaming division. And it could be a push to get people onto the new Surface Books, onto the new Surface Phone, if that comes. And it's like the Halo game they released on Windows Mixed Reality. So I couldn't download that on my Rift and play it because it's only on Windows Mixed Reality. So I think there's a few different angles that they're coming at. As a fan of Gears, I want to play it, and I don't want to have to be forced onto a platform to play that and get that part of the story, especially when it originated on the console. I think it should be everywhere. If Microsoft want to put everything on every device, then why don't you put it back on the console? You've got an exclusive problem. Let's get it on there, and let's get playing it on everything.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, the great points from everyone. I want to move on to the next topic, and of course, it's going to be all fun and games, no pun intended. I want to talk about everyone's opinion on who they believe won E3 and why. And I'm going to go right over to the Don, because I know you had made mention that you weren't. This wasn't the best Xbox show you've ever seen. Out of the three companies that showed, well, not three. Out of all the companies that showed up at E3 2018, who, in your opinion, walked away with the title of best showing?
Well, I mean, you can come at it all multiple different ways, but I think they both fell flat for me, and for different reasons, like it would do for like another gamer, right? Like there's a lot of things I knew on the Xbox side that were coming, just I knew, but everyone else was kind of doubtful. and so they needed to be put at ease. I was already at ease about a lot of stuff people were all doom and gloom about, right? So it felt kind of flat for me. Like the announcement of studios, I knew they were acquiring something. I just didn't know what it was, right? So like I had faith in that, and so therefore I found out what it was, and some were surprises, but not many. If you know what I mean. You have, there are certain things they announce in Gears that I'm not a huge fan of, like them talking about being a little bit more open worldish. That's kind of a turnoff for me on Gears. I kind of have to see how that pans out, because that can be taken completely out of context, and my imagination can be running wild with me. And even though the Slip Space engine looks phenomenal on what they're doing with Halo, I thought the messaging was a little bit off on that. I think people don't realize that's actually the next Halo. It's a mainline Halo game. Some people are speculating it's something different or this or that. It is the next mainline Halo game. And the fact that they're kind of going back to some of the older school, like Spartan design, I don't like that. And it makes me question, hey, did they have Spartan abilities, all that sort of stuff. I even went to the point where analyzing the trailer, see if they still maintained the 60 frames per second, which they did, at least with the demo they showed on the Slip Space engine. So, there's little things like that. This kind of fell flat, and those are my favorite franchises that I play Xbox for, that I have more questions on, and I have some doubts leaving E3 versus going into it. And Sony's presentation wasn't that great, and they showed really great demos and really great games. But the harsh reality is, am I going to be playing any of those between now and E3? And there's only really one of them that I'm going to be playing. So Microsoft slightly edges them out because I'll be playing Crackdown. I love Crackdown. And
yes, me too.
I love Forza Horizon. And to me, E3 is always about what am I going to be able to play this next year? What I'm going to buy from you as a company, as a consumer type perspective. And Microsoft edges them out, but it's just a slight edge. And there's certain things that I'm left questioning, in I wouldn't say not less faith, but I have questions. And I want to see where it goes. And I might be a little bit more turned off on those next iterations of my favorite franchises. I mean, it's what it boils down to. So,
yeah, okay. Judd, I want to hit you up with this. In your opinion, because you're more of an Xbox guy. Out of all the companies, what won E3 for you?
Yeah, I'm more of an Xbox guy. I could probably talk about some of the others. Microsoft did best for me. I think they had a lot to prove. You get a lot of non-Xbox fans that say we only have Halo, Gears, and Forza, but that's what Xbox fans want. And we got, new Forza Horizon. We got the Halo tease on the new engine. We got three Gears games. So they're all looking great. They addressed the first party with the studio announcements. Some of that was really impressive and pretty unexpected. The Game Pass stuff, fast start, that's quite important actually. As a consumer, I want to get into games quick. And I think everything they showed on third party was going to look best on X and play best on X. So I thought they did a really good job, especially when I saw the rest of the conferences. Some of them were pretty much car crash material. But I did like the last bit of it's Cyberpunk cutting off Phil mid-sentence to show that one last thing moment. I thought that was really, really well done. So,
yeah, that was very classy. Very classy.
That's with Microsoft. They gave me as much as they could literally do at the time. The games will come. We are going to have to wait a little bit longer, but it's promising. So I'd say Microsoft.
Nice.
Well, and I think we're also grading it. We have to grade it. This is what this year is, right? So, like, they haven't showed off really what's the following year. So
right.
It's important to people to keep that in perspective as well. So,
nice. Noof, what is your take on who won E3 for you personally?
Well, I always find it funny how people refer to this as who won, because I didn't realize it was always a competition, but apparently I guess it is somehow. But I'm going to take a page out of your book, Boom. Everybody wins at E3 because it's all about the games. It's for the gamers. But you know, in a dick measuring competition, Microsoft clearly whipped out the biggest, longest dick in this competition.
No chills.
So yeah, like I'm gonna, from the big three perspective of Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, I'm gonna have to give it to Xbox, only because, you know, their show was filled with far more promise and surprises as opposed to the rinse and repeat formula that Sony's been using over and over again. Now, I think they had great games. Don't get me wrong. Sony had phenomenal games, showed a lot of promise. Most of them are on the horizon. I know Spider-Man is just about here, looked phenomenal. Ghost of Tsushima definitely looked very cool, if kind of just a little skeptical because there was no HUD. There's a few odd things about that whole presentation of the game. You're just like, you know, what kind of engine is this running on? How far is it out? Are you doing more than just walking around and just going nuts on people with a samurai sword? You know, they had lots of cool stuff, but you know what I really liked about Microsoft show as well is they filled all the gaps. They filled most of the areas that fans wanted. We've been crying for a bit of a roadmap. We kind of saw that where they're going. There is a Halo on the horizon, and it's totally new. It's the Slipspace engine, and you know, we still don't know much about it, but hey, it's starting a show with Halo and ending it with Gears 5. How the hell can it not be, you know, well, it didn't end with Gears 5, Cyberpunk, but when you have those two massive games at the end of your show, that's a pretty damn good way to close it out. Not to mention, we saw games presented on Xbox stage that are typically stuff you'd only see on Sony stage. Their recommitment to not only indie developers, but now to get on board with the Japanese developers, to start getting some of these games that may have typically been, say, timed exclusives now coming over. You know, you see even that Nier Automata is coming out here later this month. I mean, finally getting that game. So, like, there's plenty of positives to draw on there. And, of course, the announcement of the studios was absolutely huge. You know, here we are finally, a commitment to getting some big AAA titles, and many of these studios, for all we know, might already be 2 or 3 years deep into some of these titles. I don't think these were deals that Phil just went out and signed like 2 weeks before E3. So I just think that now was the time to announce them, because we are on the verge of seeing some new hardware over the next year or two, and it just makes logical sense that we could see another fantastic launch lineup of games if and when the new Xbox ones come out here. So definitely Xbox. Sony's was solid, like I said, great games. Nintendo, oh god, Nintendo. Let me just say, I'm on the verge of getting rid of my Switch. There was nothing, and I mean nothing, that sparked a flicker of a boner out of me on this one. Like, you know, kudos to Nintendo. They know their audience. They know what people like. They overkilled it with Smash Brothers. Like 10 minutes in, I was like, my God, people, just put this down already, will ya? But you know, but for me, like, I was never a Smash Brothers fan. I can't stand Pokemon to save my life, so I don't want to see half a show filled with the games I don't like. I guess the majority do like them. Noof's just a cranky old motherfucker. So, so what can I tell you, man? Like, I just feel like I'm losing touch with Nintendo. Every year, it's just. Yeah, I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, Nintendo, take some risk. The only risk Nintendo keeps taking is with their hardware, but they play it as safe as putting butter on toast. You know what I mean? When it comes to their games, the same friggin' games, time in, time out, and not a whole lot of risks. So yeah, and as far as the third-party guys, the third-party companies go, like the Bethesdas and Ubisofts, I'm going to have to give it to Bethesda. I think they had the most entertaining show. They had some really big titles. Can't wait for the new Wolfenstein game. That's going to be pretty cool. You know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'll leave it at that and let somebody else chirp.
Well, now, last but certainly not least, I'm interested to hear what she has to say, of course, is Eve, who for you as a gamer won E3 that showed you exactly what you want to play moving forward?
Well, if I'm going to go off by what Noof said, that Microsoft definitely whipped out the big dick and filled me with the most joy.
Mrs. No Chills.
What type of podcast have I walked into?
Like, it's great. I'm so excited that they picked up Ninja Theory. That's like a big deal for me, because I absolutely loved Hellblade. And then as far as like exclusives, first party, Gears of War. If you're going to show me Gears, it doesn't matter what you show for the rest of the whole entire time. I'm absolutely going to be in love with it. And then as far as their third party showings, Kingdom Hearts 3, I was really glad to see that. And then the finish with Cyberpunk, that was probably the most exciting finish I've ever had. And I haven't been able to think about it or not think about it ever since. So Microsoft for me won it. I watched Sony. I probably was sleeping maybe 90% of it. And then as far as Nintendo, I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, it was Nintendo's was if you're like I said, it really was focusing on the Smash fans. But you know, listen, everyone had great points. We're gonna talk about who out of all the companies that were at E3 disappointed you the most. All right, and Judd, I'll hit you up first on that. Who let you down as a company? Like showed up and was like, okay, boom, this is what we have. Sorry, we don't have more.
This is going to sound really bad because it sounds like I'm attacking Sony again, but it would be easy to say the worst conferences like Nintendo and EA, Square, they were all terrible, but
yes,
my expectations weren't that high. With Sony phoning it in last year, I was expecting a lot more. E3 is supposed to be the Super Bowl of gaming, or Christmas for gamers, we call it. Having a 5 to 10 minute instrument solo that no one really asked for, and I'm a musician, so I appreciate that stuff. That's not what I wanted to see at E3. We then got, you know, the demo, and then they moved people out. That was crazy. We went back to those automatons outside. They just added absolutely nothing to it.
Yes, they were robots. It was terrible.
They were absolutely hideous. The other thing that annoyed me a little bit about it was we were promised a deep dive, and as a developer I'm thinking, awesome, we're getting a deep dive into some of this stuff. You know, we can have some of this narrated, you know, commentary over the trailers and talking about game mechanics and the worlds, and none of that actually happened. We just got extended trailers, which didn't really do a deep dive on any of it as far as I was concerned. The games they did show look amazing, and I absolutely cannot wait for some of the Sony first party stuff apart from Death Stranding, because I think, as Don said on a podcast once, if after 3 trailers I still don't know what's going on, you've lost me.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. That was me. That was
you, mate. That was you, and you're absolutely right. It might be the best game ever, but right now it looks like a walking simulator where they were sort of trying to demonstrate they've got an engine, and because they ported over to Decima, and they have, you know, mechanics, but there's nothing there as far as mission structure or what the game is or what it does. We still don't know about that, and that really sucks. So they disappointed me the most because I wanted it to be so much better than what it was.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Oof, you know, what were your takes in regards to being disappointed? We know what you thought about who won, but who showed up and you were like, wow, this is terrible.
I'm gonna have to say, from one of the world's biggest publishers, if not the biggest, in EA. We get it. Their shows are very similar each and every year because their sports titles are their bread and butter. They're kind of the go-to thing. But EA's presentation was flat. There was nothing like super duper that was like, oh my God, I need your sports title this year. Very little surprises. You know, the only time I actually felt a little excitement and I thought it was pretty good was when that lady came out to promote that new odd game. What was it? The girl, little possessed.
Oh, yes. You
know, she seemed enthusiastic and very passionate about the project. So that was kind of cool, but there was very little surprise. You know, EA should have had a much bigger show, much bigger presence, show where their roadmap is going. I mean, it wasn't even a heavy presence of Battlefield even. So I you know, then they spend time on those stupid card games and everything else, or what was it, Command and Conquer, where just bored the shit out of everybody watching.
Yes,
it's like, oh,
that was
Lord,
to bring the whole mobile thing, and then of course the announcer was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah, like it's like, as somebody who worked in radio, you know, like I don't know, why can't they hire somebody that knows how to do pacing for shows here? Like, bring in people that know how to do this, because that's a big thing with your it's not just about the games that you show. It's about keeping energy throughout your show, and you should be building energy, not losing it, and then trying to build it back up. You know what I mean? Like there shouldn't be these lulls, like these ups and downs. It should be a steady climb, not a fucking straight to the shitter kind of show. You know what I mean? So
right.
People gotta figure that out.
They can be ebb and flows, right? But don't bring it to a halt, is what you're trying to say. Right?
Exactly. And it was definitely a few halts in some of those third-party publisher ones, and a lot of them again playing it very safe with sequels to games and stuff like that, and very little interesting stuff. You know, probably the most bizarre game of the whole bloody show was Death Stranding. I mean, that was a FedEx box walking simulator. I don't know what the hell that was. Fetus in a jar simulator. Weird, man. But yeah, EA was disappointing, and I was also disappointed because as a Switch fan, I was hoping EA was gonna really show off some more stuff coming to Switch, and I was super excited that maybe this year is the year that Switch actually gets an NHL hockey game, because believe this or not, guys, we haven't had a hockey game on a portable platform since NHL 07 on the PSP. Now that is ridiculous. Our hockey fans that are freaking irrelevant around the world that EA can't make. I mean, can you not at least port one? Like, I don't care. It doesn't have to be the best version, but just make at least one version. You know what I mean? Jesus, guys, so stop being such dicks.
Okay, well, with that said, Eve, did I ask you yet? Your opinion?
No, not yet. But
okay, let's go right to you.
To, remind you of me. The most disappointing thing for me, and I think I did this to myself, was with Square Enix. I'm a huge Square fan. I'm a Squaresoft fan. I love them even after they merged with Enix. But I kind of had high hopes, probably because of Avengers and Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
So it was like I watched it, and then I saw the Kingdom Hearts trailer. I'm like, wait a second, I already saw this. You know, they played the same exact one from Microsoft. And then, which was awesome, was the Tomb Raider. They showed the gameplay, and that was pretty awesome too. I'm very, very excited. So I'm getting excited, and then they showed me Dragon Quest, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, all right, what's next? And then they're like, Just Cause 4, and I'm like, okay. And then they showed me more of, the Monster Hunter Final Fantasy thing is kind of cool because I do play Monster Hunter, so I'm kind of looking forward to what they're doing with that. And then, what was it? There was the new game, The Quiet Man. I think that was their only new game that they showed, which I don't know if I'm interested in or not. But I swear, I took a piss and I came back and it was over, and there was nothing else there. I was very disappointed because I was really looking forward to the heavy hitters from Square. I feel like they may have promised me that. Maybe, I don't know, I'm crazy. But it's just, they disappointed me the most out of everybody.
I will say this, not showing Final Fantasy VII anything, it is a real telling sign to when that game is actually going to come out. And there were rumors from, I had picked up a story from a place on YouTube. The name of the site is a Comic Book Cast. And if you're into comic book movies or comics per se, I suggest going and giving them a follow. They're absolutely fantastic. They had a boatload of information in regards to the Avengers project that I almost guaranteed was going to be there. It was one of my early predictions that it was going to be a revival of the top-down Marvel
the Ultimate Alliances. Yes. Yeah, I recently picked them up and played them in an anticipation of seeing this Avengers, and it was just like, come on, why not? Just a little bit.
Yes, even just a trailer would have been fine.
Yeah, or a picture. Give me a fucking just give me a picture. And I want to see something.
And some of the other information regarding the Avengers project that I thought was really interesting that they broke the story was for a long time on many games, including as something as recent as the Capcom versus Marvel game that came out last year, there was a blockage for anything Fantastic Four and for X-Men. Because Marvel doesn't own the rights to them, so they're not letting any light going, and basically shading them. They're going to be in this game as well. That veil has been lifted up, so it's going to have 70+ characters. So I'm excited for the game. So not being there was also a big disappointment. Don, what company showed up for you, and you were like, "Wow, this was you probably should have stayed home."
I would say that I don't know if I have that in particular because I expect highs and lows from all these companies, right? Yeah, in far as like things I'm not going to be interested in, things I'm going to be interested in.
Right.
I would say the biggest disappointment I took is screw 2018. All the good games are coming out in 2019. I can't wait for this year to be over. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I kept like going, okay, that's the game I've been waiting for. That's the game I'm waiting for, and then I'm like, oh man, and my wife like she likes to get Christmas shopping done out of the way early, so one of the things she tells me at a certain time of year is stop buying games because I can't buy anything if you keep buying it all, right? So so she goes, so what games are you getting this year? Well, not a lot. They're all going to be next year. And she goes, when they come out in February, they're like, well, that's when your birthday is. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I know what I'm getting for my birthday is a lot of games that I was looking forward to. But, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, and I don't mind developers using that space. I think publishers and developers alike should be entertaining that space. But not the expense of totally forgetting the holiday season.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
And Red Dead Redemption is going to be a juggernaut. Like I get why people want to get out of the way of that, but it doesn't fulfill everyone's needs. That's a game that sells all year. I mean, Rockstar games are games that sell all year round, and other games do just fine. So, like, get out of the first 2 or 3 week hype period, and then you can go ahead and release something. So, I'm not a Call of Duty guy, so occasionally I'll pick one up every 4 years. So like Call of Duty's a no-go, especially this year with no campaign. It's the only reason why I played that game in the first place. So really it's just like Battlefield for me this year and Forza and in Spider-Man, and that's it. That's really all I'm interested in this calendar year. So, the biggest loser to me is 2018. To be totally honest with you.
Okay, well, listen, you know what? What I want to talk about next, and I think that this is important, is I expected a lot of games, and some games didn't show up. And one of the biggest games for me that were on my early prediction list that were definitely going to be at this show. In fact, I predicted it not only being an exclusive, but showing up on the Microsoft stage simply because they have a fantastic relationship with them. And I'm talking about Splinter Cell. And usually I go with my guests first, but I really have been like chomping at the bit to get that out. So I'll go to everyone else in a second, but no Splinter Cell at all really blew my mind. And it really one of my biggest disappointments personally, because, Michael Ironside has basically let the cat out of the bag that he is going to be Sam Fisher. He was in, an updated patch of free DLC that came for Ghost Recon Wildlands, which I played. And it was great. So I expected to see him. I'll go to Judd first. What game were you expecting that didn't show up that you were disappointed about?
You took it straight off me, Boom.
Oh, there you go. Listen, that's all right. Speak about it.
Yeah, it's going to be Splinter Cell. I think Rand and his friend that's played it, and possibly Walmart Canada, are all in league with each other, and they're trolling us. I don't know what's going on with this game. You're right. Michael Ironside, he was pretty cryptic in his little message, but yeah, we know it's coming. So whether it's a case of we can't release in the fall because of Red Dead, or we can't release in February now because every other game on the planet is releasing in February, we can announce it, maybe sometime next year. I'm not sure, but I was really looking forward to Splinter Cell. That game is fantastic. So that was the biggest one that I was expecting to be there but didn't see. Gutted.
Okay, Noof, what about you? What didn't show up that you had picked in your prediction list?
Well, that would definitely be one, and and Judd definitely had some great points as to why maybe it wasn't there. It's also possibly with Ubisoft themselves having a bit of a softer lineup overall this fall. It was trying to find the right launch window for Splinter Cell, and then having to put it up against Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which Ubisoft might want that game to kind of sit a little on its own to kind of get its maximum potential, because if it's got to go against Splinter Cell, it could dilute which other fan bases spend the money where and when, you know what I mean? So I think it's coming. We'll get to see it at some point. It's just a matter of when, and maybe we'll see it more towards Gamescom and stuff here in the fall, and it could be an early title next year. But I think overall I was very disappointed with the fact we didn't see no Fable. I was highly expecting to see something from the Fable franchise, and we didn't. So yeah, that was very disappointing. That was probably the biggest thing from the Microsoft show that I was expecting and didn't see. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But we also, through good sources, say that there is one coming, and hopefully we'll see that at some point.
Okay, Neve, what did, I mean, we know some of the games that you talked about, but for you personally as a gamer, what was your most anticipated title that didn't show up?
I'm gonna have to say Final Fantasy VII, but I feel like I set myself up for disappointment to begin with. They swapped crews, they've changed engines or whatever excuses that they keep coming up with. I just wish that they had shown me maybe a cinematic trailer, something to get me to like hang on just a little bit longer and believe that this game is actually coming out. And then, yeah, like I said, Avengers as well. Someone mentioned Borderlands 3, which I would have absolutely loved to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I pretty much got what I wanted.
Just so I tell you what, Eve, we'll send you a bag of dildos, and you can have as many Final Fantasies as you want until it comes out.
Right.
Hey, Don, what about you, man? Being a developer / gamer, you obviously had expectations. What didn't show up that you were disappointed about?
No Crackdown 3 demo with the live destruction. I almost thought for sure they almost got my hopes set up when the way they had the stage set up.
Yes.
I'm like, I thought that's where they were going to go with that, and they didn't. And then that was a big disappointment. I've seen tech demos already of it that haven't been done to the public. So like I was looking forward to the excitement in the room of other people's reactions, right? To that. And I have to wait a little bit longer. So that was my major disappointment. I'm a huge Crackdown fan. I'm excited about the campaign just as much as I am excited for the multiplayer. But yeah, then again, 2019. So.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we're going to move on to an exciting topic. And what was your game of the show? What game just blew your expectations out of the water? And I'm going to go to Eve first. What game for you was like, oh my God, this is a day one buy, game of the show?
Okay.
Take it away.
It's biased. It's completely biased when I say this, but Gears of War 5. Like,
okay, that's all right.
Like, I don't even have to buy it. It's going to already be on my system. But besides that, though, Cyberpunk, I really hope it comes out on this gen. I really, really do. I've been waiting for it. I'm a huge fan of CD Projekt, and I don't care if it's first-person shooter. I don't care if it's just a walking simulator. I want Cyberpunk. I'm really, really looking forward to it, and the way that they presented it really got me hyped for it.
So you want some good news on that? It was playable at E3 behind closed doors on an Xbox
I saw
One X.
that, and I dug so deep.
To try
and find
those
something.
closed door things. They don't allow cameras in. Like there's to the point where they don't even let your cell phone in.
Right.
Sort of thing. But to let you know, like it was playing on an Xbox One X development kit, so it's going to be this gen. Just for
I hope so.
Just for your reference. So
You just made me more excited, so thank you.
Don, I'm going to go to you because you jumped in. What was your favorite game of the show? What's your pick for game of the show?
Game of the show, or demonstration of the show?
Either way.
I think Last of Us stole as far as just being super just impressive, just ridiculously impressive, and I don't like, I made it publicly known, I don't think Naughty Dog is a bad developer or anything like that. Matter of fact, I try to pull inspiration from those guys, but I haven't played a Naughty Dog game that I liked, and that's a true story. And so for me to say that was that impressive comes from a place of just saying, hey, it's a good game, even if I don't like their games. It looks phenomenal. But then again, who knows when we're going to get those games? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Judgezilla, what was your game of the show for you, dude?
Man, this is so tough. It's almost an impossible question. I think you've got two aspects. One is games that are coming out this year, and one is going to be games that are coming. And it sucks because I've been thinking about this today and I still can't think of which one I'd pick. But I would probably say Forza Horizon 4.
Okay.
They're coming in October. I love Forza Horizon. Division 2, massive fan of that. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be awesome. Gears 5, I'm a massive Gears fan again. And Last of Us 2. So what I've actually done there is given you about 4 or 5 options, and you all can pick which one you like because I can't pick one. But Cyberpunk, I think overall is probably going to be the one that I'm most excited about and the most intrigued about. But I want to get some Gears on. Seeing that trailer was absolutely awesome.
Oh, for sure. That like I said, that engine looked, oh my goodness, so good. Noof, what about you, brother? What was your game of the show?
Oh, and again, very, very hard question to answer because there were so many games. And, you know, a lot of people might think I'd go with the obvious choice and say Gears 5, which it definitely was up there. But you know what? The game that's impressed me the most of this generation so far was Rise of the Tomb Raider. So what can I say? I'm super stoked for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I thought it looked absolutely amazing. It looks amazing. I can't wait to dive into the next chapter of the Tomb Raider saga. I don't know, that game to me, like ever since they did the reboot of the series, has taken so many steps forward in every department to improve on that series, that franchise in so many ways. And this one actually looks like they're taking it back to its roots a little bit more with a little bit more of the actual tomb raiding, as they like to say. So that game, just animation, graphics, lighting, everything I saw for the trailer looked awesome. Badass action scenes, you know, gritty, more, you know, you can see the evolution of Lara's character. I can't wait. And you know what? It is coming this year. I think it's September. So, you know, as much as I wanted to say Gears 5, it's just, I can't turn away from Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's going to kick ass, especially on the Xbox One X.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, Don.
Yes, put it this way. Noof just saved my 2018. I totally forgot about that game. So
Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely high up there as well. So
Nice. Well, listen, I'm gonna do my pick, and I don't think that anyone that knows me personally, my brother and a few friends are in the chat. My game of the show, and possibly my game of the year for 2019, lock it in, Resident Evil 2, the remake. Holy shit. Let me just say this. The trailer does not do the game justice. You need to get over to, I believe it was GameSpot. They had 17 minutes of actual gameplay footage. Holy cow. I can't believe what they've done with this game. The game looks terrifying to play because it's dark and you're using a flashlight. Every zombie moves different. They're all wearing different clothes. The RPD headquarters looks like I remember it, just slightly with little tweaks here and there. It just, wow. I mean, all I know is this. As it stands, I'm buying it on every platform, of course, but the PC, because I don't have a PC to run it on. But it was currently announced for 3 platforms: Xbox One, PS4, and the PC. I'm getting 2 out of 3. I would imagine at some point or another, with the cloud-based technology that Nintendo is getting in bed with, we'll be able to see that on, because Resident Evil 7 is coming to the Switch. I would imagine that Resident Evil 2, the remake, will eventually be there as well. I will be a day one buyer. I could not, first of all, seeing, you know, there was rumors that we were going to see it. I literally jumped out of my chair when they announced it. So obviously I'm very hyped for the game. Let's see what we're gonna do. Everyone had great picks. I'm gonna move on to the next topic. And you know what? This is kind of fun, and it brings up a lot of questions. Does E3, the conference itself, need to move to other cities across the country to allow gamers of every size, shape, and whatever to enjoy it? Because I want to get to an E3. It's just that it's in a very expensive trip where it is. And I think that there are certain territories, like i.e. New York, where I am, would be a fantastic place for E3. I'm going to go to you first, Don, being that you have your ear to the floor when it comes to the game development. Could we see eventually the show moving, or is it just always going to stay in LA?
There's always talks about it. I think eventually it needs to. E3 is too big for the LA Convention Center. You know, look no further than the fact that they filled up the convention center and Microsoft wasn't even in the same building, right? So, and the same thing with EA. So they're outgrowing that area, so they do have to go to an area where it can accommodate more of a space. The question is, what will make everyone happy? I think a more central location will make everyone happy. You know, an area that will allow for the growth and allow for everyone to be able to travel, you know, very minimal expense, and also a place that's easy to get around. So I don't know much of the middle of the United States, so I don't know what I would suggest. I wouldn't suggest anything on the East Coast. I wouldn't suggest anything on the West Coast. The thing that comes closest to my mind is Las Vegas, just because of the sheer space that those guys have, where it's located, and it's cheap to get hotels out there for the fans and all that stuff. So,
okay,
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Noof, what about you, brother? I mean, I know that you're in Canada, and to come all the way here to the States would be, my God, be expensive. But does E3 need to kind of move around a bit, or at least move once to see how it goes?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's kind of funny because I know if you watched the Bethesda conference, Todd Howard, he kind of was making fun of the E3s a little bit and how they went through that transition phase and how they tried a few different places and it didn't work so well. But I think E3 has really come back a little bit in a vengeance in a way. It was kind of dying for a while, but since they went back and opened it up to fans, it's become much more of a spectacle. So I definitely think they should. Every so many years at least, trying to move it around a little bit and give other major cities a chance to show it off. It's highly unlikely it's going to come to Canada, but you never know. With so many development studios up here now making some massive AAA stuff, you never know what could happen up here. Obviously, if it was to come north of the border, you're most likely looking at Vancouver or Toronto or possibly Montreal, where it would happen. Definitely not in my neck of the woods, because nothing really happens in Edmonton except snow. And BioWare, which is almost the same thing lately, but but yeah, they should move it around. New York seems like a very logical place, since New York is one of the biggest entertainment meccas on the planet. So definitely makes sense to take it to the East Coast, and I'm sure Mooch would have liked that announcement.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Yeah. There you go. And you and Eve, you guys are all in the same area.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
kind of.
Well,
I'm in New York, but I'm
Yeah.
in some Amish country.
But you're an Amish gamer? That is amazing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm the hottest thing around. I
Yeah,
have my
Eve-
horses pulling my internet. That's what it feels like lately.
Eve, I'm going to go to you. What do you think? I mean, do you think that it would benefit the conference itself more so the fan base? Because there are a lot of people that want to go. I mean, it's on a lot of people's bucket list, mine specifically. And it's a big cost to get out to LA. Would you like to see it maybe move around to different parts of the world?
Of course. I would absolutely love to see it over here on the East Coast, because I'd be there in a heartbeat, whether I get a ticket or not. They're going to see me there. But I think it would be great, just like any type of like a con, like I don't want to talk about them, but Minecraft, they're Minecons. They have them in different areas all the time. It would be great to see it even go to like different countries, because there's gamers all over the place, and everybody I think should experience an E3. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. Judzilla, what about you, brother? What about them possibly moving it to the UK?
This is going to be controversial. I wouldn't want to see that, to be honest with you. I know.
No, this is great. A different point of view. This is great to speak about it.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to see it in another city in the US. I think New York would be perfect. It's probably the best place they could host it, entertainment capital and all that. And it's one flight from where I am instead of 2 flights and a gazillion dollars to get over to the West Coast. But we got Gamescom in Germany.
Yes.
They have PAX, and the PlayStation experience in different parts of the US, but I think E3 is a tentpole thing for the gaming community, and it should be treated as such. So, just bringing it to the UK, it would rain for starters, so you'd all get wet. You wouldn't enjoy that. We'd all be moaning about the weather. So, I would say definitely get it out to New York, get a different mentality. I've heard you and Mooch talk about it on Crossfire as well, and get a bit of different mentality going into New York, and I think that's probably the best place they could have a real extravaganza.
Nice. Yeah,
And
I mean,
the
listen,
cost of going to New York would be insane.
it's expensive, man. I hate Manhattan. I'm in New Rochelle, New York, nowhere near Manhattan. I hated it when I worked, and I hate it worse now that I'm a civilian. Manhattan is just too crowded. Everything is expensive.
Well, it's not even that. Like, because here's one of the reasons why it's in LA. Just so you guys know, is a lot of the gaming development community is in California, right? So,
correct. Yes.
So what you're asking is basically everybody in the industry, except from the people in the UK. People in the UK would be closer, right? But everybody on the West Coast to also go to the East Coast for a handful of people that are out there. So that's the problem with any of this, actually, to be totally honest with you. So.
Okay. Listen, I want to talk about something. We kind of glanced over it regarding Microsoft's conference, but I think that because of the panel that I have, I really want to dive deep into this. And the question that I have for the chat, as well, of course, my amazing panel, is how important was it to Microsoft, more specifically the Xbox brand, that they announced these 5 studios at E3 for the world to see? I'm going to go with you, Judd. How important is this to the platform, and also the mind share of the possible Xbox fans, but the people that are still here supporting the system? What does this say to them?
Yeah, I think it's huge, to be honest with you. One of the biggest complaints everyone has about the platform is lack of first party. There's no true exclusives. Picking up these 5 studios, again, if you look at the BioWare situation, they were late on that one. They got Playground, probably overpaid a little bit, but it's one they needed to pick up.
Right.
But it shows intent, and these things won't happen overnight. Opening a brand new one with Santa Monica is just absolutely fantastic. And I think it shows intent. Phil talked about, we've tackled hardware, we've tackled service, we're now going to tackle first party, and that's exactly what they're doing. And talking about the next range of consoles already in development, I think it's very forward-looking. It's absolutely brilliant news. Ninja Theory was extremely surprising, but again, another fantastic pickup. So, yeah, I think it gives a message to gamers that they're not looking to get out of the industry like a lot of people claim. They're not going to sell it to Amazon or Google or whoever.
That would never happen. That's so ridiculous.
Exactly. The sort of money they're making, and I think they've got the backing of Satya now, which is a huge thing, being their own division, the gaming division headed up by Phil. He's demonstrated to Satya that actually, this is pretty serious, and now they're putting their money behind it. So I think the pickups are absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they produce.
Okay. Noof, I'm gonna go to you right away. How important is this to the brand?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge because it reconfirms their commitment to the brand and the future of Xbox. And I think, yes, a lot has changed at Microsoft in their direction. They came into the gen being very services focused, and don't worry, they're still services based, but what I think they've seen, and Sony has certainly proven, that you don't need all the bells and whistles to have a successful console. If you got a great lineup of games, you can keep them coming, and your centralized focus is on that, then you have to know. You have to know your brand, and you have to know where your hardcore audience is. Because look, I don't care how many casuals out there buy your product. I'm sorry, it is the hardcore legions that really move the needle, because we are the ones not buying 1 game a year or 2 games a year and being very fickle about what we buy and waiting for the sales. We're the people that talk about E3. We're the people that influence our friends to buy this shit. We are the ones who buy 5, 10, 12, 20, 40, 50 games a year, maybe more. I don't know. Boom, you probably bought about 150 games last year. But it was a huge move because it reconfirms their commitment to the brand. It reconfirms that now more than ever, they realize that to be successful, they need to back it with some great games, and they've got some pedigree in the studios now. Ninja Theory was absolutely huge because, you know, to see what they can do with a small team and a much smaller budget is very promising. To know they've got a full backing, and Microsoft's going to give them some rope here. It's not going to be, hey, we're going to buy you, but you guys got to make this particular game. That's kind of nice, you know. And even one fan made a bit of a snarky comment at Rod Ferguson. It'd be nice if the coalition could make something other than Gears. And it was really funny. He's like, Rod's like, well, we just got 5 studios added. I think we can handle that now.
Right.
Not that the coalition's going to do it, but I think he's referring, hey, we have 5 other studios that can make a game outside of Gears. So yeah, good on them. That was one of the big announcements, I think, and underlying features of the entire show.
Nice. And Eve, what is your take on it? Like, you know, as an Xbox fan, does this give you hope that the platform is going to evolve?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even with just picking up Undead Labs and Ninja Theory, those 2 are the standouts for me for them picking it up. Like Noof was saying with Ninja Theory, they did such an amazing job with Hellblade that I'm really, really excited to see what they have with less of a leash, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And I think that Microsoft made an extremely smart move. They have me interested in what else they have to show me. Maybe even next year's E3.
Yeah, possibly. For sure. Oh, definitely for sure we're going to see something from these studios. There's no doubt about it. Don, did I get your opinion on this yet?
What was the question? Sorry.
This was how important was Microsoft acquiring these 5 studios to the brand?
You know, this is the type of thing that wasn't surprising to me, to be honest with you. I knew they were doing something behind the scenes. Like the writing was on the walls, but I think it was important to announce it for the people that weren't like myself, right? And so they can start saying, because people are starting to get into that weird space where they were left to their imaginations, and sometimes that takes them to a very negative space. And so just kind of putting it out there in the format they did allows people to say, okay, now I can take my imagination and I can take it a very positive space because of, you know, who these studios are, what they are, who's backing them, the fact that, you know, it seems like the financial leash is off on some of these places. I think that was just important to kind of show to the public. But no, none of this was really that much of a surprise for me, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, I'm very thrilled. For me personally, the surprise announcement that literally had me jump off the couch was Ninja Theory, simply because they know how to make story-driven, adult-themed, single-player games, something that is blatantly absent from the Microsoft portfolio. And even though we do get those stories told in Gears and Halo, and some of the other new franchises that we're not getting sequels to, like Sunset Overdrive 2 or Alan Wake, for instance. I don't know if we're ever going to get an Alan Wake 2. Are we going to get a Quantum Break 2? I don't know. I would love for those stories to continue, but Ninja Theory, they're the masters at telling a story. And what they did with Hellblade was a perfect example of that kind of caliber coming to the wheelhouse of Microsoft. I think it's big. But I'm going to finish off today's show with something that's true to my heart and dear to most gamers who are Xbox focused. And that, of course, is Halo Infinite. Now, when this was shown, this excited me in a way that, you know, first of all, we don't really know a lot about it, right? There has been massive amounts of rumors that it's going to be an open world Halo, very similar, not the same, but similar aspects to Destiny, which for me as a fan,
that's false.
Oh, it's false. Okay, so
false.
Okay.
Bungie, but 343 put a bunch of stuff out.
Okay, they did. All right. So then basically, are we just looking at the new engine? Is that what we're seeing?
We're looking at the new engine, and there's a new Halo. This is the next iteration of Halo. So this is not a spin-off thing.
So this is in replace of Halo 6?
This is Halo 6.
This is Halo 6. Okay, I'm glad you confirmed. Well, you know what? I'll go to you first. Are you excited for what they showed?
Well, engines are weird, right? Because they're always like showcases of what you can do with it. But the question is, what are they going to do with it? It doesn't really tell you a whole lot. They do like a bunch of little hints. They do this crazy draw distance. A perfect example is, do you guys remember the Halo 3 tease trailer that Bungie did, where Master Chief, it was like a dust like type scene, and Master Chief was walking between these rings, and then he has the outlook. That was technically done on the exact same engine as Halo 3. But if you look at actual Halo 3 and you look at that clip, they look completely different from one another, right?
Right.
So like tech demos are not necessarily, they give you an idea, but they're really more or less meant for people like myself, to be totally honest with you, and knowing what you can do and inspiring what you can do with that engine and see where your imagination kind of goes with it. But that's more or less what they're trying to show is visually where it's going to go from there. Looks like they're going to maintain 60 frames per second. That was confirmed from the footage from E3.
Nice.
In regards to that, everything about it, like more open spaces occasionally here and there, that's part of Halo. That's something that's been missing from the 343 guys since they've been taking it over. So I mean that's a good thing. I'm actually all aboard on those moments, and then have those closed corridor moments and go back and forth between the two, because that's kind of the DNA of Halo. But the whole Master Chief look is that one's a little bit of a disappointment for me, and that raises a lot of questions. Are we going to no longer have Spartan abilities? It's one of the older Spartan designs. What's going on there? They're really kind of emphasizing like they're going to make it look similar to older Halos, and I kind of don't like that. I like the graphic design that 343 has brought to the series. It has evolved the series, and that part makes it feel like even though the engine's a good step up, the character design for Master Chief looks like it feels like a step back.
Okay. Noof, what about you, brother? Does this game have you excited in where Halo is going?
Well, absolutely. I'm totally excited. Huge Halo fan. I think 343 has been doing a phenomenal job. It is a bit perplexing to see, like I said, that difference in Master Chief's outfits, like he's going back in time. Not necessarily a bad thing, I suppose. I know a lot. I think that's the thing, right? At this, we're sort of at a juxtaposition here with Halo, and at a point in the franchise where, they're trying to bring in a lot of new fans to Halo. I mean, it's Halo's still big, but it's not the massive franchise
it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's not where it was back in the Halo 3 era. It was still huge, and that was before the Call of Duties and everybody started making a first-person shooter. So, but it's still huge. But the thing is, I think that's what they're trying to find. They're trying to find the sweet spot. They're trying to find a way to bring new fans into the franchise, but I think they're also trying to reinvigorate the ones who've complained so much that 343 has ruined it. It's nothing like the old games. They changed too much, too many abilities. Because you kind of heard that, right? It's like, I loved Halo 1, I love Halo 2. 3 was pretty good, but after that. So I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to hit that sweet spot to please a little bit of everybody. And that's very hard to do. You alienate some fans, you bring on board new ones. I guess you got to take the risk and take the plunge. But the graphics engine itself, if it holds up and they can come close to that sort of fidelity in the long haul, that's an impressive look for the franchise, because I think that's one area where the Halo franchise hasn't evolved as much as some other games, and is just its old engine looked a little bit dated.
Mm-hmm.
They need some more realistic environments, because a lot of those flat paneled walls inside spaceships and stuff just never really caught my attention. You know what I mean? Like Master Chief's weapons and the stuff and some of the enemies look cool, but a lot of the environments, especially when you got inside of these, like the buildings, were just very, very dead, very flat, and it makes it look a little too much sci-fi, I suppose. So yeah, so I think I'm excited for where it's going to go, but we don't know enough yet to make an accurate judgment.
Okay. Eve, what about you? Are you excited for the possibility of what Halo could become?
Yeah, Halo's what pretty much brought me over to Microsoft and the Xbox world. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe something new. Someone else mentioned in the chat about how he's looking a little slim. just a little bit. And I
skipping
noticed
leg
that
days.
too. Yeah, either that, I don't know, maybe we're going backwards a little bit and doing more of a prequel than a sequel.
Yeah, in that context would be okay, right? But
I would be fine with that.
but they're saying this is Halo 6, basically.
Right.
This is a continuation after Halo 5. So what does that mean?
Right. He went on a diet. He's on Weight Watchers. I don't know.
The new Halo following the industry trend. The Master Chief is actually a female all this time.
Right. It was a feminine leg, like when they in Metroid when they finally unleashed Samus.
Right.
You know, it could be a moment like that, but with a very manly voice. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be gorgeous, and I really hope they take enough time to really make it what 6 should be, and not just another Halo game. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And,
I'm looking forward to it.
Well said, Judgezilla. What's your take on the direction of Halo, the new engine, the skinny Master Chief? Hopefully, they answered those questions sometime in the future.
I'm not touching Master Chief's leg in this discussion. I'll leave that to more appropriate people. Don's absolutely correct on the engine. I was really excited. I must admit, this gave me the feels when it came on, and we had that one piano note. It did give me the feels. The texture quality of the new engine and the shadow resolution is all that going to be in the main game when they're adding AI and all the playable characters and etc. I don't know, but as a Halo game, I think it was necessary. They needed to evolve the engine, and I think they're sort of telling the fans they're serious. Really, they've learned from the mistakes on Halo 4 and 5 as far as campaign and multiplayer go on those two. And if it is a bit of a nostalgia one, going back to a couple of those callbacks from earlier games, I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, it's Halo. I wanted to take their time. There's a reason God of War was so good. It had a 5-year development cycle.
Yes, absolutely. Well
so
said.
Let's do the same with Halo and get that out and make us all go wow. And not look at cheap legs.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank my panel for coming out today. You were absolutely amazing. I could not have asked for a better show. A big shout out to the chat. Everyone was fantastic. Everyone looked like they were having a good time, and that's what I want to do when I have these shows. I want you to come here. I want you to laugh. I want you to hear what we have to say, and that's why I have a rotating chair. Sometimes it's 5 guests, sometimes it's 3, but I like involving everyone from the community that wants to talk about games. So we're going to go do the outros now, and of course, I'm a gentleman. I'm going to go with ladies first. Eve, please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you on Twitter. I think, like I said, you really bring a unique aspect to the shows that you're on. I certainly appreciate all of your commentary today. It was fantastic. Where could people come and and hit you up if they want to follow you on Twitter?
Well, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Primal Eve, and then I'm usually on my Xbox also with Primal Eve, and I'm very thankful for you having me this morning. It started off my day pretty good, and
awesome.
Yeah, I had a great time, so thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And listen, don't forget to follow her on the Dosage podcast. When does that air, Eve?
Yep, that's Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. Noof, thanks again, man. I know that you've had a tough go at it with your back. I'm glad that you're on the mend. I really, really appreciate you coming out. I've been trying to get you on the show for a while. When you say no chills, you can always expect fun. Laugh. Basically, it's a laugh-a-thon when you're on. But listen. I'm going to say this: as funny as you are a bright spot to this community. I'm very glad to call you my friend. It's been an absolute honor to have you on today's show. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, you can find me hanging out with Primal on Monday nights with the Game Dosage podcast as well, and the great cast of characters over there. I'm so fortunate to be here. Thanks for having me on. I've been, like I said, dying to get here as long as I'm not dying, right? So,
of course.
little on the down low here right now on the mend, but guys, I'm getting well. I want to say to everybody, thank you for the well wishes. When I was in hospital, there's nothing that made a couple of those days brighter than seeing so many well wishes from the whole community. Like, this is what you know, beyond the gaming, this is also what it's all about. It's feeling that connection and having strange people you've never talked to before wishing you well and asking how you're doing, and of course the usual people as well checking in and out. That was fantastic. So from the bottom of my heart, again, I can't thank everybody enough for that, and thanks for having me here, Boom. I look forward to coming back and doing this again soon. And
Absolutely.
I just wanted to let everybody know, lastly, mixing it up with Noof, I'm still going ahead with that, guys, on Wednesday nights. I'm just taking a little break from it right now because I find sitting down and playing games and stuff for lengths of times are a little difficult. So maybe in a few weeks when I'm back to where I'm not sore and I can move around much better, that'll be good, and I'll get back to it. So I'm just on a little hiatus right now, but I'll definitely try to get a few mixer streams in the meantime. So thanks for having me, guys. Great panel. Good to have everybody. Judzilla, the Don, Primal, all that stuff, and being here with you, Boom, is fantastic. And Judzilla, you speak really well, man. By the way, I felt like the whole time I was listening to a video game version from a BBC broadcast.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Hey, Judd, listen, my friend, we have talked about getting you on the show for a while. It has finally happened. I could not have been more happier than I am right now. I've gotten to know you on a personal level. Thanks to you agreeing that I did your community spotlight a couple of months ago. A real interesting story. And that's what I love about doing the community spotlights. You really get to know people on a personal level. I appreciate that. But thanks again for coming out today, dude. Where can people find you?
Oh, thank you, Boom. It's been an absolute pleasure, and what a fantastic panel. The chat's been amazing. And I say thanks to you. You know, you did the spotlight. You're really giving back to the community, and it's absolutely fantastic. So big props to you. We need a Twitter campaign to get you over that 1,000 subscribers. So someone should start that. Where you can find me less sober when I guest on the Dazcast on Wednesday nights. So that's always a good time. On Twitter, Judzilla UK, Xbox Judzilla. And if you want to hit me up, DMs are open. No one's asked any HoloLens questions. Come and talk to me about the HoloLens.
Oh, yes. That's right. That
one. But yeah, thank you very much.
So you've gotten a chance to try one too, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm doing some development on the HoloLens right now. So
nice.
It's interesting. Yeah, but thank you again, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back anytime anybody wants me. And that
awesome. Well, I'll be ringing your bell. Don't worry about that. And of course, last but not certainly least, he's been on the show, I think, 4 or 5 times, but it's always great to hear from him because, like I said, not only is he a diehard gamer, but he's a developer and he gets his ear to the floor. He always knows what's going on. I love talking to him. The Don, dude, thanks again for popping in. This was unexpected. It was a great treat for not only myself and everybody on the panel, but of course, all the fans listening. Dude, you're awesome. Where can people find you, bro?
Put me on way too high of a pedestal, man. But that being said, the best way to get a hold of me is follow me on Twitter, which is the Don_KTR. To be honest, I'm actually feeling like a bad friend. I didn't realize that Noof was in the hospital. So I'm gonna have to catch up with you later, Noof, on that. See what the hell happened. But outside of that, yeah, the best thing to do is just follow me there. I'm popping up on a lot more places recently, so that's the only way to really know what I'm doing. So,
okay, well, listen, once again, thank you to everyone. Thank you to the chat. I'm going to be back on tonight. Usually Fridays are double duty for me with the Crossfire podcast on Mooch's channel. I'm sure he's going to have a whole bunch of topics. Hopefully we'll see you there in the chat. I'll say hi. And everyone have an amazing weekend. Be safe, and we'll be seeing you next week.